What if Count Dooku secretly built the Death Star? That is our story for today, so let's dive in. The Clone Wars raged across the galaxy. Star systems fell, battles erupted on planets like Christophsis, Ryloth, and Umbara, and both Jedi and Sith orchestrated strategies in shadows. While the galaxy's attention remained fixed on the war, Count Dooku, the former Jedi and secret Sith, plotted a plan even his master Palpatine could not foresee. Deep in the unknown regions, a cluster of hidden asteroids served as the construction site for Dooku's ultimate weapon, a superweapon capable of destroying entire planets. The Geonosians, loyal to Dooku and well-versed in complex machinery from the original Death Star schematics, labored endlessly under his guidance. Massive plates of durasteel were shaped and fused together. Turbo lasers, hangars, and a super laser capable of unimaginable destruction were installed. The station slowly took form, an orbiting nightmare hidden from the galaxy's gaze. Dooku meditated in his private quarters aboard his flagship. The holoscreens displayed images of Coruscant, the Republic fleet, and the countless battles he orchestrated from afar. His thoughts were calm, controlled, and razor-sharp. The Republic and Palpatine were tools, and soon he would remove them from the board entirely. "Palpatine believes I serve him," he murmured, his eyes reflecting the glow of the schematics. "But it is I who shall rise, and the galaxy will bow to my order." Meanwhile, Palpatine, ever the master manipulator, continued his double game. He fanned the flames of war, orchestrating crises, and ensuring that the Republic and Separatists remained locked in combat. Yet unknowingly, the Sith apprentice Dooku built a weapon that could render even his master powerless. As the Geonosians worked tirelessly, Dooku's Death Star neared completion. Every detail was perfect, every defensive system accounted for, every contingency covered. Once operational, it would give him absolute leverage over both the Republic and the Separatists, a tool to reshape the galaxy in his image. The galaxy fought wars on countless fronts, oblivious to the shadow growing in the unknown regions. While battles raged on planets like Kamino, Geonosis, and Ryloth, Dooku's weapon waited silently, hidden and unstoppable. The end of the war was near. The Battle of Coruscant raged like a storm of fire and steel. Republic starfighters weaved through waves of Separatist capital ships, laser fire streaking across space as explosions ripped through hulls. The chaos of war filled the orbit above the galactic capital. Inside the Invisible Hand, a squad of Magna Guards escorted the captured Chancellor Palpatine, their metallic limbs glinting under the ship's red warning lights. Their motion was precise, intimidating, perfect bodyguards for the galaxy's most important figure. The Chancellor, restrained yet fully aware, scanned the command deck with a mixture of defiance and unease. "He should be here soon," Palpatine murmured, almost to himself, referring to Count Dooku. "Dooku, I trust he will arrive." Minutes passed. The deck remained eerily empty. Palpatine's sharp gaze picked up the subtle absence of Dooku's usual presence. No Sith Lord commanding the ship, no shadowy figure orchestrating the battle from within. His voice tightened. "Where is he?" A quick scan of communications confirmed the truth. Dooku was nowhere on the Invisible Hand. The realization hit the Chancellor with horrifying clarity, too late to react. Dooku was never on board the ship. Suddenly, the void of space outside the observation windows seemed to tear apart. A massive circular shadow loomed above Coruscant, far larger than any Separatist ship, larger than any Republic dreadnought, the Death Star. Its enormous surface shimmered in cold steel, hundreds of turbo lasers glinting along its rim, and at its core the super laser pulsed with immense energy. A transmission flickered to life on the observation deck. Palpatine's eyes widened in disbelief. The image resolved into Count Dooku, standing aboard the fully operational Death Star. Calm, composed, and terrifyingly confident, Dooku addressed the Chancellor. "Goodbye, Sidious," he said, his voice smooth, final, and dripping with the inevitability of doom. "You were useful, but the galaxy will no longer tolerate your treachery. Your empire ends here." The moment Palpatine realized Dooku's full betrayal, it was already too late. The Death Star's super laser fired. A piercing green beam lanced across space, striking the Invisible Hand with unerring precision. The ship erupted in a blinding explosion, debris scattering across Coruscant's orbit. Palpatine's eyes widened, frozen in shock. The force of the blast swallowed him instantly. A scream of disbelief never escaped his lips. He was gone in an instant, the galaxy's most feared manipulator destroyed. Dooku's transmission continued, echoing across all communication channels. People of the Republic, the truth is clear. Palpatine and I conspired to seize control of the galaxy, but I will not share power, surrender or face annihilation. Coruscant has been merely the first warning. Across the Republic fleet, dread spread like wildfire. The Invisible Hand's destruction and the full revelation of the Death Star's power left every commander, every senator, and every Jedi in stunned silence. The Clone Wars had suddenly escalated into a conflict beyond comprehension, and the galaxy now faced a Sith Lord with a planet-destroying weapon and no master to oppose him. Dooku, poised aboard the Death Star, observed the fleet with icy calm. The game had changed. The chessboard was his, and every piece, Republic, Jedi, Separatist, was now trapped in his grand design. Coruscant's sky was streaked with the smoke and fire of the ongoing battle, but below the city's core and the Senate building remained eerily quiet. Within the grand chambers of the Galactic Senate, panic and confusion hung thick in the air. Count Dooku's ship descended gracefully into the atmosphere, moving as though Coruscant itself were merely a backdrop for his demonstration of dominance. His holographic image flickered into the Senate's communication system. Calm, commanding, he addressed the gathered senators and Jedi alike. People of the Republic, the truth is finally clear. Palpatine and I conspired together to seize control of the galaxy, but his death ensures I alone will shape its future. Surrender now and perhaps mercy may be granted. Resist and the consequences will be absolute. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Senators murmured frantically among themselves. Bail Organa's eyes blazed with outrage, while Mon Mothma's hands clenched the railing in disbelief. Padme Amidala, seated among them, straightened, though a flicker of fear betrayed her composure. The Jedi, Yoda, Mace Windu, and Kit Fisto, stood in tense formation, their lightsabers unlit but ready. Dooku continued, the confidence in his voice unshakable. The Death Star is fully operational. I have demonstrated its power. Coruscant has been merely the first warning. Decide wisely, Republic, for further hesitation will cost lives beyond reckoning. As the senators and Jedi deliberated under his gaze, Yoda acted in secret. Using secure channels, he sent a transmission to Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, still traveling in hyperspace toward Coruscant. Dangers beyond comprehension confront us. Count Dooku commands a weapon capable of destroying worlds. Threaten the Senate's safety is. Destroy Dookus. New superweapon you must. Our last hope you are. General Kenobi and Skywalker. Obi-Wan's fingers tapped rapidly against the console of their ship. We knew the Separatists were planning something, but this is unprecedented. A station capable of destroying planets. Anakin's jaw tightened, his voice low and determined. We don't have time to argue. The galaxy is at stake. If we don't stop this now, millions will die, and Yoda trusts us to do it. The plan crystallized in moments. The stealth IPV-2C corvette, stored aboard the Republic flagship, would serve as their infiltration vessel. Equipped with advanced cloaking technology and designed for high-risk operations, it was the only ship capable of penetrating the Death Star undetected. A small group of 500 1st Clone Troopers would accompany them, elite soldiers trained to follow Jedi into the most dangerous missions. Meanwhile, Dooku, descending toward the Senate building, demanded formal negotiations of surrender. His dark presence filled the chamber like a storm, and the senators realized the precariousness of their position. Any direct confrontation could trigger the Death Star's wrath. Yoda leaned close to Mace Windu and Kit Fisto, his voice low, urgent. Trust in Obi-Wan, Anakin. Plan there is. Only way to save Republic senators and Jedi alike. The senator's eyes widened, sensing both the danger and the hope hidden in the Master's words. Padme met Yoda's gaze, nodding subtly, understanding that their only chance lay not in diplomacy, but in the courage and skill of two Jedi racing against impossible odds. Above Coruscant, Dooku's sleek vessel hovered like a predator preparing to strike. Below, the Senate's vast chamber waited, filled with fear, anger, and uncertainty. And somewhere in hyperspace, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and the 501st prepared to jump out of lightspeed, embarking on a mission that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The stakes were clear: infiltrate the Death Star, sabotage it from within, and end Dooku's reign of terror, or the Republic and countless lives would perish beneath the weapon's devastating power. The stealth IPV-2C corvette slipped silently through the void, its cloaking field shimmering faintly like a ripple across water. Obi-Wan Kenobi's hands hovered over the controls, every sense attuned to the station looming ahead. The Death Star, massive and foreboding, its turbo lasers scanning space with deadly precision. Anakin Skywalker leaned over the navigation console, eyes narrowed. Sensors are tight. We'll have maybe one chance to get inside undetected. One mistake, and Dooku will know we're here before we even dock. The clone troopers of the 501st remained calm but alert, their armor gleaming faintly in the corvette's dim interior. Commander Apo gave a short nod, signaling readiness. "We've trained for worse. Let's keep our heads, follow orders, and get in and out." Obi-Wan nodded. "Stay close, watch your flanks, and trust the Force." The corvette slipped into the Death Star's outer perimeter, evading sensors by following shadowed areas of the station's surface. A squadron of patrol droids scanned the hangars, their movements precise and mechanical. Obi-Wan guided the ship through a narrow docking bay, cutting the controls with surgical precision. Once inside, the team moved quickly but silently, disembarking into the massive interior of the station. The corridors were cold, steel walls reflecting the faint hum of machinery. Patrol droids moved in patterns, their scanners sweeping the corridors like hunting lights. Obi-Wan led the way, lightsaber unlit but ready, while Anakin scanned for structural weak points they could exploit later. "Keep to the shadows," Obi-Wan whispered. "We need to get to the reactor core before Dooku realizes what we're doing." They reached the command center first, a vast room filled with hollow screens displaying schematics and operational data. Anakin hacked into the system, his fingers moving over a secure terminal with practiced ease. The schematics revealed the station's internal layout, including the reactor core and its network of conduits. "There it is," Anakin said. "Reactor core, power conduits, and main control nodes. If we place charges along these, we can destroy the station from the inside." Obi-Wan nodded. "Good, but we must be careful. One false move and the station will be on full alert. Dooku will respond immediately." As the Jedi and the clone squad made their way toward the reactor, commando droids patrolled the corridors. Their sensors flickered over the intruders, and suddenly alarms blared. Red lights flashed throughout the station. "Detected!" a clone shouted. "Droids are converging on our position." Anakin ignited his lightsaber, cutting down the first wave of droids with precise, lethal strokes. Obi-Wan followed, deflecting blaster bolts with swift motions of his blue blade. The 501st engaged, taking down droids systematically while ensuring the Jedi could continue to the reactor. Back on Coruscant, Dooku, still negotiating with the Senate, was alerted to the intrusion. His calm demeanor flickered with irritation. He had planned to control the galaxy, and now intruders were attempting to sabotage his masterpiece. Meanwhile, within the station, the Jedi carefully planted explosives along the conduits of the reactor core. Each charge was strategically positioned to maximize structural damage. They moved with quiet urgency, knowing time was their enemy. Obi-Wan paused at the final conduit. "Almost done," he whispered. "One more, and we can evacuate before Dooku reacts." But the alarm had already triggered an internal alert system. Red lights pulsed, sirens screamed, and Dooku's holographic image briefly flickered on nearby communication panels, watching their progress. The station was now fully aware of the infiltration. "Move fast!" Anakin shouted. "We don't have long!" With the last charges set, the Jedi and clones prepared to exfiltrate. The reactor core, once detonated, would destroy the Death Star, but they had to survive the escape. Their mission was far from over, and every corridor still held the potential for deadly encounters. The Senate chamber on Coruscant was filled with tension and fear. Count Dooku's presence dominated the room, his cloak swirling as he moved with calm precision. Senators whispered frantically while the Jedi, Yoda, Mace Windu, and Kit Fisto, stood ready, sensing the danger that now loomed over the galaxy. Suddenly, Dooku's comlink flickered. A red alert icon flashed across his holopad. The Death Star's intrusion had been detected. Jedi and clone forces were infiltrating his station. His eyes narrowed, a cold smile crossed his face. "Open fire," Dooku commanded, igniting his crimson lightsaber. "Target the senators." B-2 super battle droids and commando droids sprang into action. Blaster fire tore through the chamber. Senator Bail Organa attempted to shield fellow delegates, but a precise bolt struck him down, killing him instantly. Panic erupted as senators scrambled for cover. Yoda leapt forward with astonishing speed, his lightsaber igniting with a hum. Mace Windu and Kit Fisto joined him, cutting a protective path through the onslaught of droids. "Enough of this!" Yoda yelled, deflecting a spray of blaster fire with precise movements. He focused entirely on Dooku, who circled with deadly grace, striking at the Jedi Master with a flurry of crimson slashes. Sparks flew with each parry as the duel escalated in ferocity. Meanwhile, Mace Windu and Kit Fisto moved to intercept the B-2 and Commando droids, their lightsabers a blur of purple and green. Blaster bolts ricocheted across the chamber as the two Jedi expertly protected the remaining senators, ensuring Padme Amidala and Mon Mothma were shielded from harm. Across space, aboard the Death Star, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and the 500 First Clone Troopers had finished planting the explosives in the reactor core. The station trembled as alarms blared and red lights pulsed. Obi-Wan checked the detonator one last time. "Ready to detonate remotely," he said. "Wait, something's wrong," Anakin noticed. The remote sequence malfunctioned, the timer unresponsive. Commander Appo stepped forward, resolute. "You go. I'll manually detonate the explosives in the reactor chamber. It's the only way to ensure the station is destroyed." Anakin rushed forward. "Appo, there has to be another way. I'll handle this." Appo cut him off, shoving Anakin into the Corvette. "Go, now," he said softly. He saluted Obi-Wan, Anakin, and the clones. "May the Force be with you," he added, his voice steady despite the chaos. The Corvette's engines roared as Obi-Wan, Anakin, and the clones blasted out of the hangar, leaving the massive Death Star behind. Appo advanced through the station's corridors, tearing through squads of droids with precise, unstoppable efficiency. Each blast of his blaster, each swing of his combat knife was deliberate, a path of destruction toward the reactor chamber. Finally, Appo reached the reactor room. He activated the manual detonators, his figure silhouetted against the glowing core. "For the Republic," he told himself, and detonated the charges. A blinding explosion erupted from the heart of the Death Star. The massive station tore itself apart, fire and debris scattering into space in a brilliant, deadly display. Back on Coruscant, Dooku and Yoda's duel shook the Senate chamber. Dooku's eyes widened as the massive flash of the Death Star's explosion illuminated the skies outside. The realization hit him: his ultimate weapon, the Death Star, had been destroyed. Yoda saw the falter in Dooku's stance, the brief hesitation in the Sith Lord's movements. With lightning speed, he struck, his lightsaber piercing Dooku's defenses. The crimson blade extinguished as Dooku fell, lifeless, onto the Senate floor. With Dooku dead, the remaining B-2 and Commando droids collapsed in disarray. The Republic fleet, witnessing both the destruction of the Death Star and the fall of the Sith Lord, let out a collective sigh of relief. The Clone Wars, though scarred and bloody, were effectively over. The senators slowly emerged from cover, tending to the wounded. Padme and Mon Mothma helped secure the chamber, while Yoda, Mace Windu, and Kit Fisto deactivated their lightsabers, exhausted but victorious. In orbit, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and the 501st watched the Death Star's remnants scatter into space. Commander Appo's sacrifice had ensured the galaxy's survival. The Jedi and clones had succeeded where hope seemed impossible. The skies above Coruscant were clear for the first time in years, the smoke of war finally beginning to fade. The Clone Wars had ended, leaving the galaxy scarred, mourning, but free from the immediate shadow of the Sith. In the Senate chamber, survivors gathered cautiously, inspecting the damage from Dooku's assault. The loss of Senator Bail Organa weighed heavily on everyone, and grief mixed with relief. Padme Amidala moved among the senators, offering words of comfort, her calm strength a beacon in the aftermath of chaos. With the Sith threat neutralized, Yoda, Mace Windu, and Kit Fisto convened with the remaining leaders. The Jedi recognized the fragile state of the Republic, but also the opportunity for a new beginning. "Much healing the galaxy needs," Yoda said, his voice carrying both weight and hope. "From ashes of betrayal, future must rise." Padme Amidala was elected as the new Chancellor, her voice steady and her vision clear. She immediately set to work coordinating relief efforts, rebuilding infrastructure, and fostering dialogue between star systems long divided by war. Her leadership marked a turning point, The Republic, though weakened, could now unify under a banner of hope rather than fear. In the Jedi Temple, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker reflected on the war's toll. Anakin, haunted by the betrayals and bloodshed, made a decision that surprised even his closest friend. "I cannot remain with the Jedi," he told Obi-Wan. "My place is with Padme, with our future." Obi-Wan nodded slowly, understanding the complexity of Anakin's choice. Though he would miss his friend in the Jedi Order, he knew Anakin's path would help rebuild the galaxy in a different way, one guided by love rather than dogma. Publicly, Anakin and Padme's relationship was no longer a secret. They married quietly, raising their children in a world striving to recover from nearly 3 years of war. The people of the galaxy, inspired by the Jedi's courage and the Republic's renewed leadership, began to believe in the possibility of lasting peace. The scattered leaders of the separatist movement were pursued relentlessly over the following weeks. Most were captured or surrendered, knowing the Republic now held the upper hand without fear of a Sith puppet pulling strings behind the scenes. The droid armies were decommissioned, and peace treaties were carefully negotiated across the former separatist worlds. Above all, the galaxy began to heal. Trade routes reopened, starports were rebuilt, and the scars of war slowly faded. The Republic, stronger for its trials, learned from its failures. The Jedi, though wary and vigilant, resumed their role as guardians of peace, free from the shadow of Palpatine's manipulations. And yet, the memory of betrayal lingered, a reminder of the thin line between order and chaos. But the courage of those who had fought, Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin, the 500 first clones, and countless others, served as a testament that even in the darkest times, hope could prevail. As Coruscant's twin suns set over the rebuilt cityscape, the galaxy looked to the future with cautious optimism. Wars had ended, tyrants had fallen, and a brighter era had begun. An era shaped not by fear or domination, but by courage, unity, and the enduring strength of those willing to fight for the light. And that will do it for today's story. Let me know what you thought of the story down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate the support everyone's given me. And as always, may the Force be with you.